to give you the real spiel. It's official. World War II has official. World War III has officially begun. Let me say that again. It's official. World War III has officially begun. Yemen essentially launched it wasn't a missile attack, it was a drone attack against Israel. And the drone was shot down outside of Israel territory. However, Yemen quickly said that was our drone. Now, just to give you the backstory, Yemen, I believe the group that runs is the government of Yemen. It's called the Houthis or something to that extent, something similar. They are an Iranian-backed government-backed group. And so essentially what's happening is Iran, who is still sitting on the sideline, has entered via their proxies, Hezbollah, and now the nation of Yemen. For those who don't know where Yemen is, look it up. But we have a very famous woman who's once the queen of Yemen. Her name was referred to as actually the Queen of Sheba, and ancient Sheba is current day Yemen. So when we talk about it's a world war that has now launched through the Israel Hamas Palestinian conflict, it's not an overstatement. It's a true world war. When you have America, who now is actually fighting in this war, saying, oh, our conflict with Syria is unrelated. Syria is attacking U.S. forces in their country. And so America is, of course, being extremely heavy-handed, defending their troops. They're setting up shop close by. So America's not just sending weapons, they're not just sending ships, the largest aircraft carrier in the world. I think they have 2 or 3 of them there now. They are actually, their soldiers are engaged in fighting with this, which means, of course, China and Russia, via their proxies and their support systems, are also definitely involved. Putin just gave a great speech about it, and his entire speech, when you listen to it, was making sure that the West, that the Western, I guess the gist of it, that the West was not going to inflict themselves on Russia as they have been doing in the past. And so Putin's very careful with his words. He was reaching out to his religious leaders. He was making sure that Russia was identified as having compassion on a religious ground, but was seeking the support of these religious leaders to say, hey, stand behind me and do not allow these people to utilize any form of religious rhetoric to cause us to be compromised here in Russia. And we have World War III in our hands currently right now. Africa's involved, America's involved, the Middle East, so-called Middle East, many Middle Eastern countries are involved, and we have various factions of Islamic groups that are involved, and Islamic nations. Hamas is a government. It doesn't make sense to call them a terrorist group because, like I said, America's the biggest terrorist that we have right now. We don't call them a terrorist group, we call them America. So Hamas is a government. Those boys in Yemen that's a government. Iran is a government, and these nations have decided to come and attack Israel. And Israel, via their allies, all of those who have said that they will stand with Israel, every nation that says that they will stand with Israel is involved in this war. Turkey is against Israel. They're involved in this war. There's a lot of nations that are saying, hey, what we're seeing is wrong, what we're seeing we don't agree with. And it's also an uprising of young people that are now refreshed about picking a side. They don't have to follow Western media anymore. Breakfast Club is talking about this. We had saw a brother last night on the Breakfast Club, and this is one thing I want us to be very careful about, because he sounded doggone stupid yesterday. He really sounded stupid yesterday, and not because he is, because he's not a stupid guy. I'm not going to say his name. You guys can look up the Breakfast Club, see who came on the Breakfast Club the other day. But he didn't sound competent in his argument, because the argument really doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And I understand the argument, but it's hard to be an apologist for Hamas. And this is what he was doing. And I understand when people are reaching out to the Palestinian for civilian. And what has to be careful, like I said in this argument, is you have to differentiate Hamas from the Palestinian. Even though Hamas is the reigning government there currently, you still have to identify that Palestinians predated Hamas as an organization, and now it's a government. And so the conversation got murky when he was trying to be an apologist for Hamas. And, you know, I can say it very easily. The Palestinian people are holding no hostages, right? The Palestinian people are holding no hostages, effectively. Hamas is holding hostages. And Hamas is not simply just a representation of all the Palestinian people, because Hamas is an Islamic group. Palestinians make up Jews, Gentiles, Christians, and Muslims. Just a Palestinian, the reference to the indigenous people of the land in that particular area, doesn't speak to one religious group. It's a geno group of people. It's an ethno group of people. They're not holding anybody. Hamas, defending the politics of Hamas, and that's where he kind of stepped on his own feet with that argument. And so you got people, when they talk about stuff, I just think they just need to if you're not competent to talk about something, take your time, bro. Like, that's all. These things are not easy to unwind. God bless everybody, but take your time. Timothy Davis, good to see you. Shalom, brother. But we need to take our time. So again, this is a world war, and I don't know how Canada is going to involve themselves. Usually they come in as peacekeepers. Our soldiers pop in there as peacekeepers. There's an international cry for a ceasefire. Netanyahu has said very clearly, no one's listening to that. America wouldn't listen. This is what he used. America would not listen to calls for a ceasefire when they bombed Pearl Harbor. This is what he's using as his historical reference, right? They bombed Pearl Harbor, and America did not listen to a ceasefire. Now, sometimes when you listen to people, they will tell you their plans. You understand me? A woman will say to you, you ask a woman, listen, what did you do last night? I just went to bed. You went to bed? Yeah, I just went to bed early. You went to bed early, okay. Where did you sleep? I slept in a bed. Where was the bed? What house was the bed in? Was the bed in your house? No, it wasn't in my house. I slept by a man's house. Okay. When the man said that Pearl Harbor because of Pearl Harbor, America did not listen to sounds of a ceasefire. But what did America do after Pearl Harbor? They nuked Hiroshima. Do you hear what the man said? He used Pearl Harbor. Sometimes people betray themselves by their own analogies. Wow. I'm not saying that's his intention, but if you can if you can let the cat out of the bag by an analogy, he sure as heck did it. He used American Pearl Harbor. He used an example that was the antecedent of the only time a nation has dropped an atomic bomb on another nation, and they dropped 2. Wow. Netanyahu said there will be no ceasefire. Similar to America did not listen to ceasefire when Pearl Harbor was bombed. Bless you, brother. Tim, hallelujah. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate you too. Shalom to you too. Yeah, what a Freudian slip that was. Anyway, we're at a place right now where this is gaining momentum to the point where in the next few days, it won't take weeks. I think everything I said was correct. I think everything I've said to this point has been correct. The invasion has started. I talked about on October 7th, I said by Friday they're going to be in there. We're also seeing that Israel their invasion has begun. What Israel has underestimated, I think, and why they are moving so slowly, and what the world has underestimated, is how these underground, and I'm not going to call them tunnels anymore. This is guerrilla fighting. Okay, this is underground guerrilla fighting, similar to the Viet Cong. This is not no bunch of people standing with their army across the field and you blast them. No. These guys have done their job, which again boggles the mind of people who have sense. This boggles the mind of people who have sense. When I say this to you, all you're going to be able to do is scratch your head, because it doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. But let's talk about it. Now, Israel has been in an occupation. It's occupied Gaza since, what they say, 2016? Okay. Been in a full occupation of Gaza. The reference is that Gaza is an open-air prison. This is what people are calling it, an open-air prison. And Israel has been there. It's probably coinciding with Hamas becoming a government, because Hamas is a sworn enemy to Israel. So Hamas becomes a government. They're like, well, shoot, if this is your government, we're going to hang out in here and make sure everything's okay, right? How in the heck, if you are occupying a nation with forces, and they're referring to it as an open-air prison, how in the heck does that nation build an underground arsenal, an underground set of tunnels, an underground set of missiles, an underground set of cities and secret compartments? How do they do that literally under your nose? How did that happen? Now, did they dig in from Egypt and dug underground and kept coming, and so basically this construction started from the Egyptian side? How did they build such an extravagant set of an underground city where they can launch missiles, they can fight, they can sustain themselves, they can set booby traps, they can have bases, they can do incredible amount of things underground when you're sitting there occupying them? Who was asleep at that wheel? And then how do you say that the Palestinian has built nothing? It's our water, it's our infrastructure, it's our electricity that they're living on. They're living on all our stuff. You're telling me, and we know that these electrical things and the plumbing and all these things were in, infrastructure was in a long time ago. But you're telling me that while these people supposedly weren't building anything, sitting there living off of all of the infrastructure of Israel, somehow those same people were able to build state-of-the-art underground cities, tunnels, missile launch bases. They did all that. When did they do this? Since 2016? I'm very confused. Did Israel build those things themselves? Who built that? I don't. These two things don't compute to me. How do you sit occupying a place while they're building an arsenal, pointing it at you? Who built that? How do you claim that these folks can't do anything for themselves, but they have a whole arsenal that's holding you off? The one guy said that Israel hasn't come even a couple of 100 meters into Gaza. They're going that slow because they're concerned that any time things can pop up, anti-tank, underground missiles, booby traps, mines. They're going slow. They're easing through the place because they're like, listen, this whole place is wired for bombs. How did that happen? Somebody educate me. Somebody tell me how that happened. Because those two things don't make sense. You've occupied the place since 2016, but they have a maze of 500 miles of underground cities and underground systems of warfare. How did that happen? Somebody was asleep at the wheel, boy. Somebody was asleep at the wheel when all those tractor trailers and all that construction and all that money and all that machinery and all that noise, all that was going on under your nose. Shipping in missiles, guns, weaponry. How? One brother said it was built with all American taxpayer money. Well, it couldn't have been built with American taxpayer money. I mean, America's been paying Israel to build their infrastructure, unless Israel built it for Hamas. Who built those underground? Who built this underground weaponry? Iran did it? Did Iran come into Gaza? Did Egypt do it? Did Saudi Arabia do it? Did Yemen do it? Who did it? Did Russia do it? Did China do it? Because I tell you what, these guys ain't no country bumpkins. Israel's not rolling in there like big shots. They know very well they can't roll up in there quick. Because the underground maze of vantage points, this guerrilla warfare perspective of Hamas is not a joke. They thought this thing out. They can bring reinforcements from all kinds of places underground and just pop up on you. Well, it's one heck of a thing. And this Gaza Strip conversation, it ain't going anywhere soon. It's not going anywhere soon. Every day another country joins. Syria was a few days ago. Yemen is today. Every day somebody else pops in and says, oh yeah, we're down for the cause. And we're sending bombs. We're sending missiles. Every day. They're lining up in Russia, like I said yesterday, to take down Jews that are flying in. And some people are saying that all the Jews need to simply just go back to Israel right now. Some people have said, actually, I heard this was yesterday on CBN. I don't think this guy has any competence. But he said maybe the best place for the Jews to do is all of them go back to Israel and to go back to Israel. And of course, this is what the Jewish homeland has been built for. But I can't see American Jews getting on a plane heading to Israel right now. Can't see that happening. Cannot see it happening. I don't know. Russian Jews are flying out of Israel to go back to Russia right now. So there is a world war. It's in our hands right now. And I'm going to tell you how this thing gets a lot worse for the Canadian perspective, because we got a dummy sitting up there in Ottawa doing stuff sometimes that doesn't make any sense. The Palestinian basically is, and of course will be, an international refugee in a matter of weeks, because you can't stay there. Israel's not going to let them stay there. It's going to be millions of them. There's going to be an outcry to the entire world to take in the Palestinian everywhere. Everybody's going to be given their allotment. How many can you take? How many can you take? How many can you take? And Canada, because Canada's not going to fight. Canada's got a very small population compared to other G8 nations. Canada's going to be knock on their door and say, hey, how many Palestinians can you guys take? Can you take 100,000? Right? Can you take 1 million? Can you put them in the Northwest Territories? Throw them somewhere out there. Put them in Alberta. Put them put them in Nova Scotia somewhere, tuck them into New Brunswick and Newfoundland, throw them somewhere. Put them in Manitoba. There's lots of land out there. They like that place. It's a plain. And our prime minister, who's, you know, his elevator doesn't go to the top floor for international policy, he might do that. He might say, hey, yeah, we can take a few. We took 20,000 Syrians. I don't know how many Ukrainians we took. I don't know how, and people are like, well, according to Trump, well, they're just Ukrainians. No, listen, they're at war. They're at war. They are at war with a superpower. It's not a joke when you're at war with a superpower. You know, you're taking Ukrainian refugees. And God, you know, hey, listen, you know, when Canada took some Ukrainian refugees, boy, it's like Trudeau said, bring us all the good-looking women. I think we took all the good-looking women. Personally, I haven't seen a lot of brothers, but I've seen a whole lot of women. I think Trudeau was like, yeah, you can send us all the baddies. We got some Ukrainian baddies that came across here. I'm not gonna lie, just let you know. But when it comes to how many Palestinians will we take, and this is the real question, because I have no issue with refugees. I have no issue with people coming and immigrating to Canada. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I'd be a hypocrite. But the question is, how many Hamas cells would that guy take in here? What's their vetting process to know who's coming? Because right now, that's a good idea for Hamas. Let's go over to Canada, get ourselves settled a little closer to America. Let's build us a little underground situation up there on the border of Buffalo, so that we're out there in BC by Seattle. We'll make sure that we're striking distance from America. That's going to be a very interesting conversation when they start, because it's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. All you Canadians, all you good, happy Canadians. Canadians are so happy. They're happy people. They're the happiest racists in the world. Canadians, they don't tell you what they think. They smile and they're, you know, tell you, welcome to Canada, eh? Yeah, they're mad as hell that you're here. And I'm letting you know that when Trudeau opens that border and lets refugees in, which we should, because we don't have nobody in this country. This country got room for millions more people. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm just letting you know. The question is, how many good old-fashioned terrorists are we letting in here to hang out with us? Right? And like I said, that Englishman, he's the greatest terrorist on the planet. He formed a few nations. He's got a whole bunch of nations under his wing. Oh yeah, that British colonizer's got America. He's got, what else has he got? He's got Canada, Ghana, Nigeria, all those English Africans. They're British Commonwealth Africans. Come on. And so they're gonna do their thing, and they're gonna bring in some folks too. And hey, even America, good old Biden's gonna bring in some too. Biden's gonna say, hey, we gotta get some of these Palestinians over here too. You're gonna have your own share over there in America. I guarantee you're gonna have some. So if you think that, oh, it's not a world war, Brereton, it's just a bunch of people. It's a few countries in a skirmish. All right, you wait, because when Israel displaces 2 million people, and Egypt says we're not taking them, the West steps into the old adage of the Westerner and steps into what is referred to, you can look it up, the white man's burden. That's right. The white man's burden was a concept that it was the moral obligation of civilized whites to educate and to care for the savages of the world. All you savages out there, you Africans and you Middle Eastern savages, it's a white man's burden to take care of you, to treat you good, and to make sure you have good old-fashioned democracy. And that you're wearing a shirt and a tie, you got a clean shave, you get out there and bring them their milk and cookies and deliver their newspapers and take out their garbage and work in their homes. And it's the white man's burden. That white man's burden is still pervasive in the heart of the Westerner, especially here in Canada. We will pick up refugees like there's nobody's business. And America says assimilate, become an American. Canada says, no, you can stay exactly who you are. Here's your passport, and you can stay exactly who you don't have to be. You don't have to assimilate to Canada. Just learn the Canadian national anthem and know where the capital is. But that's about it. English, you don't even have to speak that. We're gonna have a very interesting few years coming ahead of us, because the Palestinian is going to be crying out, get us out of here, help us. Right now they're crying out. Western media is trying their hardest to be like, shh, we don't have any water though, shh, we don't have any food, shh, we don't have any medicine, shh, they've killed 3,000 children, shh, we're gonna have to import you guys. If you guys keep talking so loud, we're gonna have to bring you over here. My God, we're gonna have to put you in, we have to build buildings and allow you to work in our country. We have to give you passports. Come on, stop talking so loud. We don't want to see, we don't want to hear. It's too loud. And other countries don't do that. Europe doesn't bring a whole lot of refugees. Really, like West Africa, Nigeria and Ghana should be bringing y'all over for real. I think some of you would like to be there. Y'all should go to Africa. I don't know why the Africans don't do that. I would go in there and find some of the technologically savvy Palestinians, all these Hamas guys that know how to build real technological stuff. I'd bring them straight to Africa and say, hey, brother, build some of that stuff for us. We'll give you a Nigerian passport. We'll give you a Ghanaian passport. Teach us how to do some of that. My gosh, Israel's got an iron dome. You got anything like that? Come on over to Africa. Africa should be importing all those guys. All they're going to come here to do in Canada is drive taxis and do Ubers. Ain't nothing over here, baby. So, I don't know, but you got a world war on your hands for real. And it's going to touch every single nation. One way or another, it's going to touch every single nation, and it's not over yet. Trust me. Let me tell you something about war as I close this down. War is the greatest economic surplus period in any economy. What are you talking about? Watch what the stock market's going to do. War creates an economic boom. It creates bullish markets. War does that. There's a massive outcry for food, for weapons, for clean water, for medical supplies. Look at all the issues. I talked about pharmaceuticals. I talked about the military, tech, okay, agriculture. War does that. War creates surpluses. After the wars are over, you're going to have a surplus of guns. You're going to have a surplus of stuff that people have access to. Better weapons, better handguns, better everything. That's what war does. So expect an economic boom to happen too. Absolutely. Companies are going to pick up contracts, war contracts. What do they need? Oh, they need to build a little special resistor so that this particular type of bomb can work. And there's 1 million of them in order all over the world. These are the things that happen behind the scenes that you don't even realize. This internet that you're using, it's a military system of communication. War created the internet for you. The World Wide Web. That's a military machine created so that these guys can talk to each other, communicate with each other. So war and ceasefire, it's bad for business. Ceasefires are bad for business. Wars are great for business. Fantastic for business. Then all that stuff you order, you're going to blow it all up. You're going to have to order it again. Great. So this is where you are. And a lot of people are going to make a lot of money and under the bloodshed of a whole lot of lives being lost. And this is a holy war. It's another thing to keep something going. This is a holy war. Israel believes it's a holy war. The Muslim, the Islamic Brotherhood, they believe it's a holy war. And the Christian's going to believe it's a holy war. It's a holy war. Even worse. God is on their side, they're thinking. And that just makes things last longer. Why ceasefire? God's on our side. Yeah. So there's a lot going on right now. Especially now with Sheba/Yemen joining and fighting with with Iranian weaponry, right? Iranian weaponry. Who else had Iranian weapons? The Ukraine did. See that connection? The Ukraine was buying weapons from Iran? Absolutely. How'd Iran get them? How did Iran get such sophisticated weapons to sell to the Ukraine? Well, America couldn't sell them to our Ukraine directly. This is sometimes like, if you guys watch basketball, how they have like a 3-team trade, where you got 3 teams involved. One team wants this guy, but in order to get this guy, they need this. So somebody goes to a 3rd team, and they figure out this way to make every team get what they want. Don't underestimate how many times America has shaken hands with their enemies and done business with their enemies in order to get their friends or their other enemies, cause problems for them. Do not underestimate that. I don't know how many billions of dollars Canada has given to the Ukraine. Right? Canada giving the Ukraine money. To Russia, it's not a big deal, because Canada is not a warfaring nation. So to them, it's like, oh, Canada just wants to give them money. America says, we're going to give you some money to give to the Ukraine for us. America says, hey, we're going to create something, we're going to give it to you, and then you sell it to them. Because our issue is with Putin, so we want to make sure that situation is handled. Boy, international espionage, warfare, it's crazy. Yeah, it's about to get real quick. People think it's a frightening thought. We've always been at war. I'm a black man in North America. I've always been at war. I've been at war since I came out the womb, and they brought me over to this cold iceberg of a country. I've been at war. Every time I got up out of my bed, I've been at war. Every time I drive down the street, we've been at war. The black man's been at war in this country since he's arrived at Plymouth Rock. Don't be scared, because like I said, Hamas ain't aiming at you. They ain't coming to fight me, baby. They ain't fighting me. And I'm sitting in a country that they can't sign me up for their war. I don't got to pick up near a gun to go fight for Canada. And I would not. I'm just a visitor. And I'll say it straight. I'm here so I can collect as much money as I can from this colonizer and go retire somewhere warm. I'll just be very clear about it. I'll be very point blank. They can come get their passport if they want it. But I'm here to collect as much money as I can from this colonizer and go retire somewhere warm. All right? I'm only as Canadian as my passport. And this colonizer has never loved us. He's never loved you. I don't care what accent you have. I don't care if your accent is from, I don't care if you call people baby and you're from Baton Rouge. I don't care if you say water and you're from Jersey or New York City. That colonizer ain't never loved you a day in your life. Some of you are under the terrible delusion that you are American. You are the property of America. You've always been the property of America. And you do not belong to yourself as long as you identify yourself as an American. You're an African living in America. Period. So, but the world's at war. But don't worry, black man. You've always been at war. Some folks just got to catch up with you. This is The Real Spiel, Shiloh Institute, Yemen. Welcome to the party, baby. I wonder who's next. I'll talk to everybody soon. Yep, the devil's playground can take place anywhere. And that is exactly what you're in. Take it easy. I'll talk to you all soon.